Hey, Shalom Akim, Shalom Akim. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Shai, Barashim Kakadash, Barakatam, to the elders and apostles of Group Stone, to the Akim Akwath, to all the falcons of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth, to the gospel of the Lord Amashai Kawashai. This Brother Menashe DC Camp, short lesson for the hopeful elect. So this agenda about the government shutdown has a lot of people on the edge. So I just had to, flow with the spirit, and it just came to my mind that working without getting paid—that's a violation of the Most High's laws, and that's also a constitutional problem in Esau's system. So it says on this article from this American Constitution Society. So their job is to check out the United States Constitution and see exactly the implications of modern day practices can be viewed through the Constitution. So it says the federal government shutdown is a 13th Amendment problem. All right. So this article came out in January 23, 2019. All right. So, yep, here's the writer, the author of the article, and that's his position as a lawyer. Yeah. So, yeah, when you go into the scriptures, it tells you what you have to expect once you work for someone. And yeah, when you have this government shutdown, some people are first to work. They're required to work without getting paid. And that right there is slavery. And that's theft. All right? That's something that the Lord frowns against vehemently. Okay? So just imagine that's it. So this was written years ago. That's in the year 2019. So the government shutdown that the folks are whining about on the news, if it goes ahead October 1st, so we got about 11 more hours to go or so. Hey, let's see what happens, man. So it says today the shutdown of the federal government is in its 33rd day. So that was 2019. But let's see what he also says in the following line. Yeah, so we got about 11 hours left. So the claims of federal workers deemed essential and first to work without pay have been brought under the expected statute for unpaid wages. Okay, so that's another violation of his law, the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. All right. So it says on January 14th, the federal judge refused to require the government to pay the workers, saying that the decisions of the court will not be leveraged in the internal struggle between the branches. So that shows you that the judge doesn't care about the people. All right. So the judge knew exactly where his place is to get in the business of what was employed to do by the elites. So all these so-called judges, man, they just puppets, for the super elites. All right, that's the reason why he had to play the card that he doesn't want to get involved. The courts, have no business deliberating on the situation of working without pay. All right. So it says what? The decisions of the court will not be leveraged in the internal struggle between the branches. Yeah, so there is no redress for the people. All right? When the judge says this, that means that he's not on board in seeking justice for the people that feel that they are being wronged because of some hanky panky that's going on over there in Congress. Besides a host of reasons why federal courts are loath to be involved in internal branch disputes, the courts are hesitant to enjoin the bad actors if the damages can later be repaired through back pay and penalties at a later date. So why start the problem in the first place? You know? Yeah, so that's the issue, man. If they know that they're going to violate the Constitution, the 13th Amendment, and they do it over and 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 over, that's something that the court has to address. And all these so-called lawyers over there in Congress, they know what the 13th Amendment says, but they don't care, man. They don't care. So that's how they play the game. That's how they play the people to be fools and puppets, man. It just shows they don't really care about the people. So there's nothing that the people can do but go to the streets when the courts don't want to do nothing for the people, and Congress don't want to do nothing for the people. What's going to happen, man? People are going to get frustrated and they're going to take matters into their own hands, man. You might having a family to take care of. You have medical bills. The bank don't care if the government has shut down. The bank wants their money, The bank wants their money. That's how serious the situation can be. So Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 14 says this: Thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy. Yes, all these folks, that are making 100K, not to mention those making less than that. Imagine folks making six figures, they miss like three payments. That's setting back. They don't have any proper investments. Okay, so that's why you got to be prudent in these times, man. Because if SHTF happens, man, a lot of people's financial fortress will be demolished. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 14: Thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. So you have to pay, all right, whether the people that work for you are Israelites or heathens, all right. That's what the scripture tells. That's the law of the Lord. You shall not defraud your fellow Israelite, neither shall you defraud the heathen. And that's the balance of the Lord. The Lord is a just power. And then to see Esau, play this game, and then the courts don't want to, rule on it, that just shows you that the courts are not on point. The courts are not on point. Yeah, so the courts don't really stand for the people, man. They know how the game is being played. So they just rule for the people, just in case that they can use that opportunity to set the precedent for the super elites to have a extra tool in their chest to further control the people, to have more power over the people, to tie the people up in the system. All right. That's why they always like to delay. If someone decides to sue the government and win, they're going to drag the case out until that person, before that person could see a check. They're going to drag the case out in courts. All that stuff, man. Then verse 15 says, At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it. And that's Esau for you, man. You're supposed to pay the person before the sun goes down. All right, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be seen unto thee. That's something that the Lord warned us about. Okay, this is what you call theft, and that's part of the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. All right, so let's see what else. this article says, man. Now we go, it says, but another claim brought by some of the plaintiff federal workers merits greater attention as a way to stop an ongoing constitutional violation, the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution, and that provision seems to provide a strong case for the intervention of the federal courts. Yeah. And the court is saying, oh, well, don't worry, man, just you're going to get your back pay. But what about the damage that has been caused already, the emotional stress? Somebody misses a payment, that's a huge blow to their credit. You can imagine they don't have enough money to pay the out-of-pocket expense for a medical emergency. Just imagine, man. Just imagine, all right? So, that's what it is, man. And this is what the 13th Amendment says. Section 1 says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. Remember that. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist in the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. You see that? Involuntary servitude. Working without pay. Alright? Slavery. See that? Being held against one's will. An exception not applicable here allows forced labor as a punishment for a crime whereof the party has been duly convicted by a jury of their peers. I just add that there. All right. So that's the issue that we all have to remember, man. The Lord, sees what's going upon the face of the earth, and He knows exactly why things have to be fixed. So now we read Proverbs chapter 25, verse 19. The confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. Okay, so that shows that the court system is not a system that people can depend on when they really need the help. All right, the government system is not really dependable when the people really need the help. All right, so just imagine the pain that the people will have to endure, the depression, the sadness, the bad blood that just keeps building and building and building up. It doesn't make the situation any better. All right, that's why you got to trust in the Lord of Mashiach Yahushua, man. He's the only one that can get us out of this bind. You can imagine the number of Jakes that work for the government. The number of Jakes that are barely making it. And you know what the taxation rate, 30%, about 40% of your check disappears, man. When the government starts dipping in there and start having all these deductions and all that stuff, at least 30% is taken off. All right, you go home with almost 60%. Just imagine that. And then you still have other expenses to cover. Yeah, so it's a feudalistic society. You got to pay for everything that you have, man. Everything you have to pay for. All right. So I'm gonna get another scripture. It's gonna be from the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 22 and 29. It says this: the people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery. I don't even have to go into a detail about the oppression and robbery parts, okay? And have vexed the poor and needy. Yeah, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. Yeah, so it's a spirit of oppression is heavy in America, man. It's heavy in America, and it pisses off the Lord. The Lord is angry with the wicked every day. So when you have oppression, robbery, You know, it's sad, you know. Affects the poor and needy. Just imagine that, man, using the person's labor without wages. The Lord knows that's wrong. That's a violation of His laws. So what do you think He's going to do? Yeah, so if you're working without getting paid and you have not been convicted, that's a violation of the 13th Amendment. And that's also a violation of the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments. Then it says most people know that the 13th Amendment is in 1865. All right? Know that 1865 ended the system of racial slavery that precipitated the Civil War. That's another situation that we can look into, why the Civil War really happened. Okay? Yep. And then it says, what is less known are the ways that the amendment has been and can be used to invalidate oppressive economic arrangements, even when they are entered into voluntary. So when you decide to go work for the government, that's a voluntary agreement that you've made with the government to work for them. If they hire you, that's a voluntary arrangement, all right? But then when the government now turns around and says, you know what, uh, you're still on payroll, but we can't pay you right now, but you still got to work. You're not allowed to strike and all that stuff, you know? So that's how messed up it is, man. So you basically have to show up to work every single day, you know? If you're working a 40-hour week, they expect you to be there for 40 hours. You got to be there at the beginning of your shift till the end of your shift. See, that's how messed up it is. All right? And if the short-staffed, that's another headache that you have to deal with. Economic systems like sharecropping and debt bondage that existed before the Civil War and after emancipation, right? That's a transfer from one master to another, which replicated slavery, were held unconstitutional under the 13th Amendment. So imagine what they had to do to Jake after chattel slavery. They used Jake as chain gangs. Chain gangs hired out labor, the sheriff and the governor, using Jake as free labor. So drag Jake off the street. Lock him up, use him for cheap labor. It's just sad, man, what Jake has really gone through, over here in America, man. And yeah, that's something that the Lord is going to address very soon. Okay, then it says, regardless of whether they were imposed voluntary or involuntary, doth the voluntary nature of the work does not end the discussion about whether the work violates the amendment. So you're supposed to pay. That's what it is. It's not complicated. Yeah, it does not end the discussion. You're supposed to pay. You cannot work without getting paid. All right. Under federal labor law, private sector workers have the right to strike, but federal workers are legally prevented from doing so. So you see how they write the legislation, how they'll slip that in. The unsuccessful strike of the Professional Air Traffic Controllers organization during the time of Reagan, it says what? Reminds workers of the employment consequences of such an action, even though the leverage a strike provides would effectively hasten the end of the shutdown. That is exactly the kind of unequal floor for free labor that the 13th Amendment was intended to abolish. Okay, so that's how messed up the society has become on an economic level. All right. So you just have to be aware, man. It says courts, what? Courts have been able to avoid interpreting the 13th Amendment because of 20th century statutes that prohibited race discrimination and unpaid work. Because Congress grounded the power to regulate the economy in the authority to regulate commerce. See that? Yep, that's what happens, man. That's where the regulations come from. They come from Congress. And then for them to violate it just shows you that they don't really care, and then the courts don't want to get involved in it. It says the Supreme Court has not had to address the scope of Congress authority under the 13th Amendment. So the law applies to these so-called private corporations, these businesses, but when the government is doing it, all of a sudden, well, we cannot be held accountable for that in the courts. So that's how messed up it is. Even so, Congress has showed renewed interest in the amendment by basing legislation prohibiting human trafficking and hate crimes under its power under Section 2 to enforce the 13th Amendment by appropriate legislation. All right. So when the government is engaged in human trafficking, doesn't that violate the 13th Amendment? Yeah. So that's a headache that people have to deal with, man. But for the man of the Lord, man, hey, you just let the Lord shall handle this, man. Because this is what consumes the flesh. It consumes the flesh. This is just too much headache, to deal with. You just have to let the Lord work His work. Let Him take care of what He's going to take care of. All right. Now we go to the book of Jeremiah. It shows you how angry the Lord is. Jeremiah chapter 22. Look at verse 13. It says, "Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong." That's what the Lord said. They're going to be troubled, man. All right, the elites of this world that have used unrighteousness to build up their coffers and their wealth, they in for a rude awakening. And his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbor's service without wages. All right. So that's how messed up it is, man. You got to pay, even when the Lord gives us the victory over the heathen to conquer them. When there was a war, you still have to pay. You still have to pay them. You still have to pay your POWs when they begin working for you. You're not going to work for free. The Lord told you that. Yeah, the Lord told us that, man. The Lord told our forefathers, you got to pay the heathen. You still got to pay Jake, your Israelite, your fellow Israelites too. All right. Otherwise, even the heathen can complain to the Lord too. Shoot. Yeah, the heathen can complain to the Lord. And the Lord knows that if you're violating His laws, He's going to take action, man. He's going to take action. Even the heathen have an opportunity to complain too, because the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord are meant to be the contract that you have to stick with. The contract that our forefathers made with the Most High was that we're going to do all His laws, that we're going to abide by it, all right? Whether we are the victors or whether we are the so-called losers in that situation. So that's what it is, man. The heathen can always bring up the Lord and let us know that, hey, even though, we're not included in the covenant to inherit the earth, but they still have the law to refer to. They know that they're not supposed to commit adultery, and we know that, so thou shalt not steal, and they also know thou shalt not steal. So if you know that you're oppressing them by not paying them before the sun goes down, that's a problem you're gonna have with the Most High. That's a problem. Just remember that, man. Just because they're heathens doesn't mean you just have to oppress them. All right, and giveth him not for his work. So it shows you, man. The Lord is a fair and balanced power, man. You just don't walk around, ignorant of the most laws, statutes, and commandments. Okay, He gave us the laws for a reason, so that the heathen may know that we are a wise and understanding nation. All right, not a nation ruled by ignorance. You know, that's not something. The Lord does not want ignorance to be among His people. That's why we have the laws to refer to. Okay, so you remember that. Now, in the book of Exodus, chapter 22, also gives you additional information to deal with. It tells you, verse 7 and verse 8, it says, Exodus 22, 7 and 8, if a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double. Yeah, so when this thief is caught, he's got to pay double. And that's the law. Verse 8 says, if the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges to see whether he have put his hands unto his neighbor's goods. Yeah, so that's the balance right there. There has to be an investigation. There has to be an investigation to see exactly what happens, okay? And in this case, man, hey, stealing for the people through inflation and taxation, man, that's Esau for you, man. So what the Lord is going to do is going to make him pay double. That's what the scripture says, render unto her double, for her sins have reached up to the heavens, okay? So that's how messed up, Babylon has become, man. The Lord, has caused a spirit of confusion to be attractive to these so-called politicians, man, that they can use that spirit of confusion to oppress the people. All right, that's how they manipulate the people. All right, with this so-called agenda for shutdown. And since they have the gavel of power in their hands, and then the courts don't want to go along with what is right, hey, that's what it is, man. These judges make six figures, man. Yeah, go find a so-called federal judge making less than $100,000. I don't know where that is. Yeah, so if you find that, that'll be a hard search. All right. Yeah, this big old federal judges, man, they're making money too. Yeah, so yeah, it says the current impact on the shutout workers has been immediate and severe and cannot be fully remedied with back wages and interest received years from now. All right, if you're late on the payments, you pay a late fee. Just imagine, if someone doesn't have the payments due to this so-called government shutdown, now they're going to go further into debt. They got to start using credit cards, start looking for payday loans and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's horrible. It's a horrible experience, to be in debt. And that's why we count on the Lord and Mashiach Yahushua to deliver us, man, from the hands of our enemies. Yeah, so the ongoing constitutional violation can be stated plainly. While the federal workers are voluntarily working, the coercive nature of working without pay, coercion, remember that, man. I always mention that in some of my lessons. Deception, coercion, and violence. That's what Esau uses, all right? That's what he uses to hold on to power in Babylon, okay? Coercive nature of working without pay and being prevented from going on strike cannot be understated. Yeah, so that's just what it is, man. Yeah, that's just what it is. Yep. And then it says at this line down here, at the minimum, a judge should scrutinize closely the administration's claims that such workers are essential to protecting life and property, but they have to work without getting paid. Yep. So that's what it is. They use the IRS as an example. So it says jurisprudential feature of the 13th Amendment is not yet written. They don't want to touch it with a pencil or a 10-foot pole. Yeah, so that's what it is, man. And then you see down here prison labor. Common debates about prison labor explore the contemporary meanings of the 13th Amendment clause without cause, all right, quoted above, accepting servitude as a punishment for crime. So when you're being told that you're not going to get paid, but you still got to work, that means that you're getting the same treatment as a criminal that's behind bars, that's been convicted by trial. So you figure that out. Yep, that's how jacked up the world has become, man. All right. So let's see if we can find one more precept. Yeah, one more precept. Let's see. Yeah, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 13. Thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. Yeah, so getting paid bi-weekly is not good in the sight of the Lord. It's a false ideology that the Lord does not really like. The Lord does not need it upon the face of the earth. That's why the Lord has to bring about a new management, okay? Yeah, that's why Esau's upset. That's why the elites of this world are upset that they're going to lose their power and influence over the people of the earth. And they are nervous, they're upset, and they're desperate. So they're going to do as much as they can to have the people depend on them. So that's the issue. That's the issue we all have to be aware of. So final precept will be from the book of Malachi. Malachi chapter 3, verse 5. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against forswearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow, and the fatherless. So when the Lord is going to stand up for the oppressed, the widow, and the fatherless, what else do you think he's going to do to the adulterers, the liars, and the witches, and all that stuff? The Lord has to bring judgment. The Lord has to restore a balance, okay? And that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, said the Lord of hosts. Yeah, the Lord Yahweh. It's a terrible power. When he brings his judgment to pass, hey, folks gonna sit up. So, the Lord is angry with the wicked every day, man. The Lord has to put an end to Esau's power structure. All right, working without getting paid, without proper compensation, being underpaid and overworked, not even receiving any payment. That's bad, in the sight of the Lord. So exactly, how the Lord is going to take care of business, and that's what it is. The courts are just there to protect the elites. That's what it is, man. Protect them by giving them a little tap on the wrist. That's what it is, man. So don't expect the courts to come to your aid in the times of Jacob's trouble. All right. Yeah. When you hear about cases of indefinite detention. What does the court have to say about that? You know, what does the court have to say about that? Yeah, indefinite detention. Yeah, yeah. So does that go along with Exodus chapter 21, verse 16? Let's see what that says. Holding a man against his will. Exodus chapter 21. Yep, let's see what it says. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. All right. And it's also called a correction system. It's not righteous at all, man. It's not righteous at all. That's just something that we can always look into at another time, man. The scripture tells you if someone is arrested for robbery, you gotta pay double. That's what it says, man. It doesn't say he's got to spend a whole year in jail and all that stuff. He's got to pay double. Yeah, that's just what it is. So the 13th Amendment is basically a violation of the Most High's law. All right. Yeah, that's all it is. Someone steals, you gotta pay double. If he steals a nickel, you gotta pay 2 nickels. If he steals $1, you gotta pay $2. If he steals 10,000, he's gotta pay 20 grand back. If he steals a car, now he's gotta get another car. That's what it is, That's what it is. What the Lord said. Yeah. If he steals a house, now he owes another house. Yeah, so that's what happens. You steal someone's land, now he has to go get another land to meet up for that deficiency, for that loss that he's caused. And hey, that's the law of the Lord. All right. So with that, hopefully, you've been edified by Shema Shai, by Shema Kakadash. Just double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone rule well, to the Akim Aqua, to the folk on the earth. Hold on, the Most High and the Son, Hamashiach Yahushua, will continue to give us the grace and protection we need in this time to endure the tribulation and oppression that are coming. Shalom.